Well, welcome to another episode of Professor Havin Science Cabin. Today again, we're down on the farm here at Tug Hill Farm in Morrison, Illinois. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we harvest corn. So if you look behind me here, you'll see a tractor and what we call a grain cart. Grain cart's a piece of equipment that you drive beside the combine so the combine doesn't have to stop, and he can dump his grain into that and catch that grain so we can take it somewhere else where we're going to utilize that grain. In many cases, it's to the edge of the field to be put on a semi or something of that nature. And in other cases, maybe you're taking it directly to your storage facility, which is what I do here on my farm, most likely, in many cases. So it's a big hopper, has an auger down the bottom of it that carries the grain to the front, and then it has this big vertical auger that folds up and down that will then take the grain and allow it to be unloaded into a semi or into another wagon or something like that. And that auger, as you can see there, it can fold up and down. See, it's got a joint in the middle of it, so we fold it up when we go to unload. So that's the purpose of the grain cart. Now out in the field here, I'm gonna turn around so you can see them. Out in the field here as we're speaking, which it's really hard to see, but if you look down there over my shoulder, you will see there's a combine and a grain cart down there right now harvesting. So the combine's coming along, and as he gets full, he'll dump into that grain cart. And then here on Tug Hill Farm, what we do is when that grain cart gets full, we switch drivers, and the grain cart that's full gets taken up to the grain bin, and we unload the grain into the grain bin. I'll do a different episode on how we put grain into the grain bin, but for right now, we're just talking about how we do the harvest in the field. So there's a gentleman running the combine, a gentleman running the grain cart in the field, and a gentleman that runs the grain cart up to the grain bin for unloading. And then we also have to have someone at the grain bin to watch the unloading, because that continues to happen while the machines are going back and forth. So it takes a little bit of orchestration to turn a simple day into a day of harvest on Tug Hill Farm, and that's true at any farm. Big farms that have more machines, more combines, sometimes they have several semis, several grain carts. It can be quite a operation to be trying to manage. So we're going to walk over here a little bit and show you a little bit about the corn plant, assuming that maybe you might not know a whole lot about corn and what it's all about. So again, we'll look behind me. If you look way down there, you'll see the combines coming. It's got the grain cart running next to it there. They're actually dumping as we speak. So if you look really close on your screen, you might see that they're actually unloading. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to show you about this corn plant a little bit. So as you can see where we've harvested already, the corn plant's pretty well cut down, and it's just maybe about a foot or foot and a half that sticks up above the ground. But before the combine comes through, obviously the corn plant's here and still has its ears of corn on it, like this one here. So see, we've got a nice big ear of corn here, okay? And typically each plant will have one ear of corn on it. Occasionally you get plants that have more than one, but typically one. We try to plant a population that comes close to that. In my case, I plant a population of 34,000 plants per acre, okay? An acre is 43,560 square feet, to try to put that in perspective a little bit, okay? These plants are around 5.5 inches apart, is pretty close to the spacing on them in the row, and the rows are 30 inches apart. As the combine comes through, it has rolls underneath of it that pull the stalk down. So it grabs this stalk and it yanks it downward. It has also what's called deck plates, which as it yanks it down through the slot that it's pulling it through, when it gets to that deck plate will come up and grab this ear and pop the ear off. There's a little conveyor chain that carries it up into the combine, takes it to the center of the combine, and goes up through the machine to be threshed out and get the grain out of it. Inside of the machine, essentially, there's a rotor, a big rotating device, okay, that's a little bit flighted, so it kind of makes the material move back as it goes, but it has what we call threshing elements on it. And then there's a concave around that, which is a big metal grate area. And as it takes it through that area and it pinches and rolls those corn cobs, it takes the kernels off. So then afterwards, you have an empty cob, and the kernels ended up staying in the combine. There's some other cleaning features to a combine that maybe I'll cover in a different episode that'll show how it separates that grain out and gets rid of the extra materials that are there. But ultimately, it gets it up in there and puts it in the grain tank, and then the grain tank unloads into that grain cart. And we already talked about that. So that kind of completes the cycle. As you can see, this other grain cart's coming up here now. He's full. So I'm going to end this episode. But I'd like to just ask you to think about this. I hope you learned something today on Professor Habben's Science Cabin. I hope it's something that you can use in your future again someday. And I hope you watch my other episodes that'll cover things a little more. And as you can see, here comes our combine. He's just about up here as well. So I thank you for watching. Look forward to talking to you in another episode. Have a great day.